Lawyers. What's your, I exploded, the gavel slammed, and there's no going back horror story. Story 1. Hello. So I, 28M, went to the bank a few days ago. I did my transaction as normal. One of the employees that was passing by said hi. I didn't see anything weird about it, but today I received messages from him on all my social media platforms. He texted me saying we met at the bank and he wants to meet up to go out and stuff and wink emojis. My problem is not the message itself, is the fact that he used information that I used for my transaction to find me and ask me out. I did not give him any information about me, and yet he managed to find every one of my platforms, even the ones that don't have my name on them. Comment 1. Police report, no. Bank manager, yes. If the bank manager doesn't satisfactorily reply, then corporate. If no suitable response, then police. Access of private customer info is not always a crime, except in this case it is financial identity. In fintech there is a rule. The first time you pull up someone's info, while not working their issue, you get a warning and retraining. The next time, you are fired. Story 2. Am I overreacting? It's more than reasonable to pull out a weapon after being physically assaulted. I don't understand why people try defending criminals who are out there physically assaulting people, but the moment someone defends themselves by pulling out a weapon to refrain them from further harm, everyone thinks it's excessive. But no one thinks it was excessive to physically assault someone and provoke them into having to defend themselves. A lot of people's response to trauma is not going to be to hit back. They may not know how to fight, or they may be scared. I don't disagree with pulling a weapon on someone who wants to fight you when you clearly don't want to fight. Laws are ridiculous. If someone lays their hand on you, you have every right to scare them off, or even place the weapon where it's needed. They are not the victim if they physically assaulted the person first. Just because they did more damage, doesn't mean they're not a victim. Comment 1. I agree with you. Most people agree with you. The only time I've ever heard disagreement is when race is involved. Narrator. When I was younger, a family member of mine physically assaulted me, snuck up on me while I was sitting down on my phone. I got scared, ran, and grabbed a knife, said, "Leave me alone." The whole family treated her like the victim, even though she is 6 years older than me. I was in middle school. Police did nothing about it because she is family. Comment 2. There's the concept of proportionality and escalation. If you are assaulted by someone who isn't using a weapon, and you are physically capable of defending yourself without a weapon, that isn't proportional. This is also an escalation because your opponent may also be armed as well, and this could prompt them to draw their own weapon, turning a fist fight into a knife, gunfight, and dramatically increasing the chances you will suffer life-threatening injuries. This is why you only ever draw a weapon when you fully intend to seriously harm someone with it, and the only time seriously harming someone is justified is when they are going to seriously harm or kill you. Comment 3. We must frequent very different corners of the internet. I don't see people defending criminal behavior and attacking people who defend themselves. I don't believe I've really ever seen that. Personally, I don't condemn someone for a crime unless I know they did it, and I find the action morally reprehensible. I don't really care about what is legal, I care about what is moral. For example, if I see someone claiming to be an ICE agent who is grabbing a person, I'm going to demand to see paperwork, or I'm pulling out my gun. I will not stand by watching it happen, even if that's what the law says I should do. Comment 4. I think you're wrong. No one is angered by a victim pulling out a weapon. George Zimmerman wasn't a victim, he was a vigilante who went looking for an altercation. Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't a victim. He was a vigilante playing police officer and went looking for a fight. List goes on. No one is upset about the woman with pepper spray or even a pistol, especially when the trigger isn't pulled. Comment 5. Brandishing is always dumb. If you pull out a weapon, you better use it. Context is also important. If you are armed, you really shouldn't get into verbal altercations, especially if you are physically incapable of defending yourself without pulling a weapon. It can be argued that it isn't self-defense if you use inflammatory language before the altercation as well. Comment 6. Some people are just unreasonable. There was a video posted here of a bear attacking some dude and he kicked it from above while scrambling up some rocks trying to get away while fighting for his life, and some crazy lady freaked out about it. I tried to assure her that dude kicking the bear wouldn't have any effect other than deflecting the attack, and then she attacked me and said I need to STFU, etc., etc., etc. Smo. Comment 7. You'll always have dipshits who think there's absolutely no reason ever to use lethal force. They're the same people who spout the human life is more valuable than belongings crap. These people are naive and dumb. They should be ignored. Story 3. In India, the legal framework does not recognize women as perpetrators of rape under Section 375 of the Indian Penal Code, IPC. The law defines rape only as a crime committed by a man against a woman, which means a woman cannot be charged with rape. She would have been charged with physical violence-related charges at most, which is a bailable offense in India, so she would have gotten bail very easily because the victim didn't die in this case. And the National Federation of Women stopped rape laws from becoming gender-neutral, and they have protested against it many times, and these are not some social media feminists. These are feminists at the position of power, where they have power to do many things. Comment 1. Woman sentenced to 20 years for kidnapping and sexually assaulting a 17-year-old boy in Rajasthan, POSCO. She would have not been charged with rape if she did this 1 year later. In India, the legal framework does not recognize women as perpetrators of rape under Section 375 of the Indian Penal Code, IPC. The law defines rape only as a crime committed by a man against a woman, which means a woman cannot be charged with rape. She would have been charged with physical violence-related charges at most, which is a bailable offense in India, so she would have gotten bail very easily because the victim didn't die in this case. And the National Federation of Women stopped rape laws from becoming gender-neutral, and they have protested against it many times, and these are not some social media feminists. These are feminists at the position of power, where they have power to do many things. Comment 2. They are here to win, not solve any issues. It's a political issue. They see themselves as victims no matter what. Even if that woman assaulted a boy, they will give excuses. Just like supporters of sexual assault perpetrators say, short clothes were worn, why go there at night, etc. Deepika Narayan Bharadwaj in her first documentary asked sane questions to women activists about crimes women are committing on men and the need to push gender-neutral laws. The only response she got was, "The day crime against women goes down to 0, we will talk about it. It's an ego clash, and nobody is interested in solving anything. It's just about who has more power." Comment 3. Yes, the rape definition does not include men as victims, that is, to prevent male perpetrators from filing a countersuit against the victim. On the ground, assaults on females are much, much higher in number than those on men. But this does not mean that anyone can abuse males and get away with it. There are other provisions in law under which males can file a complaint, like kidnapping, physical restraint, grievous hurt, etc. Comment 4. You want National Federation of Women to focus and talk about what could have happened in a case where the culprit has already been punished by the law, instead of focusing on abusers, wife-beaters, and dowry murderers who are walking free or getting pathetic 2 to 3 year sentences if they're even punished at all. Are crimes against women suddenly over? Have the daily assaults and abuse by men just stopped? That National Federation of Women should talk about what could have happened in an already finished case. Story 4. AIO Lab sent me results to routine blood work saying I was pregnant, then tells me it was a mistake. I was doing my annual physical for my doctor, and she runs my blood panels every year. When the results came in on the MyChart app, among other results, I saw the attached image. I was shocked that it said I was pregnant. Though not impossible, it was not expected. After trying for several days to reach out to my doctor to verify what I was seeing, as I figured being pregnant is pretty big news and I assumed I would have at least received a call about it, I finally received a message in the app that read the following: "No, we did not run a pregnancy test." When the lab puts the order in, that is a question that pops up for them, and you are not the first that they have marked yes for. Please disregard. I apologize for any stress. All said, I spent a week trying to process a rollercoaster of options and emotions with my partner. I made adjustments to medication for the safety of pregnancy as soon as I found out. While my partner and I have been together for 6 years and have been thinking about starting a family, we weren't trying yet. Now that I know it was just an error at the lab, I am feeling really sad and disappointed. Am I overreacting for thinking this is a huge issue for the lab to have not only done this on my test, but, according to the doctor, to others before? Is this a normal mistake to happen? Am I dumb for thinking this test result was telling me I got a positive pregnancy test? I'm feeling stupid for even thinking I was preggo, and now for how upset I am. But that seems like a pretty major error to be making and really could mess with people. Comment 1. No, but yeah, these mistakes happen. I once had a doctor's office leave me a voicemail that I had ovarian cancer. I called them back several times, but they just kept putting me on hold. I was panicked and drove to the office, crying the whole way there. When I got to the front desk, the receptionist was on the phone and would not put the call on hold. Meanwhile, I'm sobbing in front of her. She finally gets off the phone, and when I ask her if she could confirm what was left on the voicemail or let me see the doctor right then and there, she just gave me an attitude and said I needed to make an appointment. I was so upset with her, but I made the appointment, and then she also told me to call some other office and make an appointment with them to get further info on what I had and treatment options. When I got home, I called to make the appointment with the other office and let them know about what my doctor had said. They later had called that first doctor's office to get copies of whatever lab results they had. Then they called me back, only to tell me that I was told the wrong information and I did not have cancer. It was a very stressful and traumatic few days, so I understand, at least in some way, what you're going through. Comment 2. NOR. Lab employees generally don't answer these questions. It's usually the nurse or doctor ordering the tests, as it asks the question when the tests are ordered. So this seems like one of their mess-ups. Second, edit BC. This always annoys me. If you ever have questionable lab results or concerns about lab testing and the doctor's, physician's, nurse's reaction is, "Oh yeah, the lab messed that up," I am so serious when I say 90% of the time, it's a pre-analytical error, meaning the problem happened before your test ever got to us. Examples included: the samples are hemolyzed during the blood draw, the test was ordered incorrectly, the wrong specimen type is collected, they didn't answer the questions correctly, like if the patient was fasting or not, etc. We tend to be the punching bags of the medical industry, since people feel more comfortable blaming us for their mistakes, since we're not visible to the patients. Comment 3. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I got an email saying the results of my sleep study showed that I had freaking epilepsy. I was expecting to find out if I had sleep apnea on a Sunday evening when their main office was closed. I had a very panicked few days, and the sleep center was very apologetic and said the technician completely misread my results. What she saw as epilepsy was literally just me waking up and panicking because of the sleep apnea I was being tested for. Sometimes medical people really do not understand the gravity of the stuff they say to patients because they do this day in, day out. Comment 4. After my cancer, I still had to go get MRIs every year for 10 years. After my 8th year of MRIs, I checked my results on my health page online. The doctor had written that signs of cancer recurrence, in my native language infancia. My stomach dropped, and I started researching what to do, trying to contact the office. After many stressful hours, the receptionist checked my files and read out a different reading that I didn't have access to, and there it was clearly stated that there was no sign of any cancer. The doctor had meant to write, "no signs of recurrence," but left out the vital, "no." Thankfully it was fixed later, and now it clearly states the correct information. But it was really scary for a moment. Comment 5. I work in specimen processing in a major clinical lab company. Unfortunately, human error comes into play. We check 2 identifiers to match the specimens to the order form. Sometimes the person collecting the specimens puts them in a bag with an order form for a different person, and the lab assistant processing the samples fails to match identifiers. Sometimes incorrect results are entered by the techs, which seems to be what happened here. There are many people behind the scenes that work hard to give you the correct results, and it's always taken seriously when we make an error or miss an error caused by someone before the samples reach the lab. You're no, but believe me, if it was a lab error, I'm sure the employee got a retraining and possibly corrective action. Comment 6. Dude, one time my doctor read my blood results and told me I had an STD and was pre-diabetic. After she finished telling me my results, She stared at the file for a second and goes, "This is not your file. Can't explain the range of emotions I went through." Comment 7. A similar thing happened to me. Doctor told me my blood test results indicated kidney damage, likely due to hypertension, which at the time, my BP was on the borderline of being high, so it sort of made sense in my head. I remember sitting there panicking as she was explaining and writing the prescription. At the end, I think I had a random question about my meds for an unrelated issue, and then she realized she was on the wrong file. Hi. Story 5. I purchased a tiny home a few months ago. A family friend recommended me to a guy that does the work. His price was super cheap, so I accepted it. He only wanted $1,600, but I had to buy all of my own material. He agreed to $400 a month. Perfect. He did my framing and I paid him $400. He did my wiring, and I paid him $400. But here is the thing. He wanted more money every week, not every month, like we agreed. Now we move on to my drywall. I got in a bit of a bind recently where I couldn't afford it at the moment, but I'm okay now. Every week I couldn't afford the drywall. He called rushing me to get it, even though I didn't have the money at the time. I kept telling him I would once I handled all my other bills first and then he could come back to work. Well, let's just say that didn't go well. He popped up unexpectedly at my house every day begging for more money. I had to tell him to just give me a couple of weeks to get the remaining material. I've had to block 5 phone numbers from him, you name it. Now he's threatening to take me to court all because I didn't get my material on time. Then he threatened to rip out all of the work he done even though I paid him for it. Can he legally do that? I want to file for harassment and trespassing, but I don't want to go through all of that. I just know that this is as ridiculous as it sounds. Story 6. AIO medical neglect. As a child. When I was younger, I fell off a slide and busted my head open. Dad and his friend were watching me and my siblings, and Mom was at the shops. They waited till she got home to seek medical treatment, had to get staples. Didn't go to the dentist until almost 15. Why? Because when I went the first time at 4, I was scared, and she said it was too hard to bring me if I was going to cry. When I was little, I would roll my ankles often. When I would say they hurt, I was told I was just lazy and should watch where I'm walking. At school in PE, they would have us run laps. I would always get dizzy and have a hard time breathing, but I was just seeking attention according to the adults. When I was about 7 or 8, I got a mystery illness that made it to where even just the scent of food made me throw up. It started in the middle of the night. Threw up from my bed to the toilet and cleaned it up myself while throwing up in a trash can next to me for fear of being in trouble. Brought the trash can with me to bed, was yelled at over the towels I used to clean it up smelling bad, was still sent to school but sent home every day after a few hours due to vomiting. Couldn't hold down water, slept a lot and was never really checked on. A week went by before I could eat again. My body has never been the same, still go through random stints of some bits of vomiting in my mouth, but it's now more manageable most days. Around the same age I passed out and fell out off of a tire swing and never was checked out because I was fine if I could remember my dad's name, phone number, and address. When I went into 6th grade, I was a walker. There were many times I would be walking home, next thing I know I'm waking up on the ground. Most of the time I would just get up and start walking again. On rare occasions, passerby would try to arouse me when unconscious. Once I even woke up in a stranger's house after one of these instances. It happened 10 or more times that I can remember, one of which happened while walking down my own street. I passed out in the neighbor's yard, and my dad and his buddies got a good laugh at the lengths I would go for attention. When I was 10, I had a tooth that was falling apart. I told my mom I kept getting white rocks in my mouth every time I ate. She told me to brush more. I had no toothbrush to begin with. At 13 or 14, that tooth abscessed and got so infected, I would often taste what sewage smelled like, and my face would go in and out of being so swollen my eye would close. It wasn't until my dad's friend who would abuse me told my dad I could die from it not getting removed that he finally filed for government insurance to get the tooth removed. Ended up pulling all my molars and several other teeth got removed, crowned, or filled. I made sure not to cry for fear of loss of help. We would go to the health department for school shots, and once to get checked after an assault my mum walked in on and I had told the school counselor about. She was mad I was lying because my sister was the one getting abused, not me, according to my mum. I got pregnant at 14 and that was the first time I had ever gotten regular checkups, but because I was pregnant, In my state, they see you as an adult when it comes to your pregnancy, child, so I was the one making appointments. After I had my baby, me and the baby had a lot of issues, but that's for another Reddit trauma dump. How does it affect me today? I'm 30 with a brain tumor and have frequent pain and dizziness, lightheadedness, have issues with mental abilities like memory and task upkeep. I have stomach issues that are terrible, and on a regular basis still roll my ankles, fall downstairs and lose my balance. Finally got back on state insurance, but the USA is trying to get rid of Medicaid and Medicare, which would leave me unable to see a doctor for ongoing care. Edit. My parents had a lot going on in their lives, and we were always lower income. I have multiple siblings that always had louder needs. Both of my parents have passed, and I did say my piece before they died. My mum apologized for all the pain she caused by not leaving an unhealthy situation and not being the mum I needed. My dad even asked as a child he would apologize for the life he gave me. They did bad. They are not bad people though. I love them both dearly. It's a complicated feeling to know I was neglected after reading all these comments while still knowing who they were as people and loving them even though they did this. The question was, am I overreacting to feel I was neglected, and am I overreacting to feel like I will lose coverage after finally getting it? Comment 1. The US is not trying to get rid of Medicaid and Medicare, just the fraud and abuse, so don't worry about that. I'm not sure what your actual question is. I don't think being resentful of your parents is overreacting at all. My husband was never taken to the dentist as a child and had his first dental work in his early 20s. He has a couple of implants and has had difficulty, but we have taken care of them. I only went twice as a child. Luckily, I inherited my dad's strong teeth. My mom's are pretty good too. I have a few crowns, but also take care of them. My girls went every 6 months. We never had dental insurance of any kind, until now being on Medicare. Is your brain tumor, cancer, or benign? What treatment have doctors suggested? I used to react badly to the presidential fitness tests as a child, and never understood why kids liked playing tag. It made my chest hurt and I got very short of breath. I was diagnosed with asthma at 26 in the emergency room. Changed my life. My parents were public school teachers with 5 kids, and we never had enough money back in the day. My parents were very mean also. They are both gone now. My older brother seriously mistreated my sister for 5 years from age 7-12. She never told any of us until she was in her 40s. My advice is take care of yourself as best you can. Go to therapy for the trauma and take care of your child. I am so sorry life has been so rough on you. Story 7. AIO, I can't let my mum take care of my baby. Is my mum going to harm my daughter? I'm a first-time mother and my baby is 3 months old next week. She has been coming over twice a month to take care of our daughter, Gabby. We put the bassinet in the living room and she sleeps on the couch. My husband and I have been so grateful for my mum's help. She is the only person who has offered to help us, and she clearly loves Gabby. Last night I checked my bassinet app and saw she hadn't been clipped into it for hours. I come out to the living room and see that my mum is asleep on one end of the couch, and on the other end is Gabby in her swaddle on a cushy folded blanket, with a comforter covering the lower half of her body. Her face was turned into the blankets. I explained to my mum in a calm and non-attacking manner, just like a therapist would recommend, using I statements, not blaming, etc. She denies she was asleep and that Gabby was in any danger. I pleaded with her. I begged her as her daughter to please put her in her bassinet for sleeping. She rolled her eyes and said that if Gabby was suffocating she would have cried for help. I know basic science. Suffocation is silent. I have in the past tried to explain to her the new safe sleeping guidelines, no pillows, blankets, soft surfaces, or letting her sleep in the car seat. She was insistent that Gabby should be left to sleep in a car seat, even after I explained positional asphyxiation. She does not take in new information. She ran a daycare for nearly 17 years, and uses this to justify her doing things that we now know are not safe. I'm thinking I just can't let her take care of Gabby or she might harm her. Guys, please help me. I beg you to help me. Update. Thank you all for your advice, especially to the person who said something to the effect of, I would be making a serious mistake to let my mum take care of my daughter unsupervised. They were right on the money. Once I made the simple decision that I would not put my daughter's life at such a manageable risk, it was easy. I took a firm and emotionless stance. I will do what I think is safe. My husband did a little initial questioning and insisted I should give my mum a second chance. I explained to him that I will not be doing that while our daughter is so young and vulnerable. I will not be changing my mind. When the next Saturday came and we did not put the bassinet out in the living room, my mum didn't even ask why. This has all been an eye-opening experience, and I read and took into account each and every comment. Thank you all for your help. I am very grateful. Comment 1. I don't know how old you are, but if you were born in the 80s or earlier, medical advice was different than today. She may not know how unsafe it is to allow baby to be in soft, fluffy blankets. Has she educated herself on new findings and recommendations? Narrator. Thank you for this. Yes, she is following the old advice. I shared the new info with her and she, and my mother-in-law, were discussing it. She said they agree it's just because of irresponsible mothers who are drunk or on substances. How this is irrelevant due to suffocation being silent is nonsense to her. She doesn't get it and is mistrustful of Western medicine. She also says that if what was before was wrong, then what is now will be wrong in the future. How does one explain anything to someone like this? She did not go to college, and she is totally one of those N of 1 people. You didn't suffocate and neither did any of the kids I took care of at my daycare, so why would your baby? Talking to her is a test of what I think of as basic logic, in addition to patience and compassion. The only way I could convince her to get the COVID vaccine back in the day was to inform her that 1, you don't get to choose to just pass away in the ICU. You are intubated and kept in the hospital, which means under fluorescent lights. The fluorescent lights are what did it to her. That convinced her. Now she says she regrets getting the vaccine. I told her that if she hadn't gotten it, her case of COVID could have been much worse. Her response, not really. I told her it could have been worse, and how does she know otherwise? She said, I know. How do you talk any sense into someone with such faulty logic? Maybe I could find some type of acupuncturist, homeopath, chiropractor, shaman that advocates for what amounts to safe sleep practices under the guise of keeping the chakras in alignment, or the balance of the 4 humors. Comment 2. For the sake of argument, let's say she's right. There is no risk at all, and you're totally overreacting to the risk. You still would not be in the wrong. She's disrespecting you as a parent. It does not matter if she feels she knows best. It's not up to her to decide how your baby is cared for. If you want your baby put to bed in a specific manner, she needs to respect that. If she won't, then she shouldn't be allowed to watch your baby. The only situation where it would be acceptable for her to step in is if you were allowing your baby to run around a pool unsupervised or were feeding her food. She would choke on real dangers. There is absolutely no risk to her putting your baby to sleep the way you asked. She's being stubborn to maintain control over you. That needs to end. Make your boundary clear, and if she can't be respectful, she loses the privilege of spending unsupervised time with her granddaughter. It's that simple. You can find safer childcare from someone who respects you instead. Comment 3. I totally understand your fears. They are real. If your mum wasn't receptive to them, it may be best to not have her taking care of your baby. However, I do feel like this is a common thing, fear among new parents when it comes to their older parents. I don't think what she did was bad enough to not give her another chance, but maybe over time she can prove herself to be trusted. Comment 4. Hey mum, I understand that you were the director of a daycare and I really appreciate your help. I know you love Gabby and would never intentionally hurt her, but sometimes I feel anxious about leaving her here because I can't trust that you'll follow my wishes about Gabby's sleeping arrangement. I know that it is unlikely that anything will happen to Gabby, but it is recommended and proven that babies are safest XYZ. Here is a link to an article explaining why. I know I'm a first-time mum and we would all be devastated if something were to happen, so I need you to respect the boundaries I set for her, or I can't leave her with you anymore. We will still come and see you, of course, but I won't leave her here by herself. I really love you and desperately want her to spend a lot of time with you. I would hate for this to stop that. If your mum argues back or pushes your boundary, you have to be willing to follow through. Despite what she thinks or what you think about sleeping, this is about any boundary you set for your daughter. Next, it will be food, what to feed her, when and how. Comment 5. Зрозумів. Нове завдання. Взяти 3 надані коментарі та розширити кожен з них до повноцінного сценарію, монологу. обсягом приблизно 10,000 символів, 1,600 слів. Я зроблю це, дотримуючись нашого формату другого режиму. Кожен сценарій буде розповіддю від першої особи коментатора, який ділиться своїми роздумами та досвідом у відповідь на оригінальну історію. Тон кожного коментатора буде унікальним, відповідно до його початкового повідомлення. Я буду надавати їх по одному. Ось перший розширений коментар, заснований на коментарі номер 2. Script 1 of 3, based on comment 2, the boundary. The commenter's voice is firm, clear, and logical. It's the voice of someone who has zero patience for power games and believes in clear, direct action. They are not unkind, but they are absolutely uncompromising when it comes to respect. Commenter: I've read your post and all the turmoil you're going through, and I want to propose a thought experiment because I think you're getting bogged down in the wrong argument. You're debating SID statistics, safe sleep guidelines, and the likelihood of risk, but the risk itself is a red herring. It's a distraction from the real issue. So, for the sake of argument, let's say your mum is 100% right. Let's say her decades of experience as a daycare director have given her a sixth sense about child safety. Let's concede that there is absolutely zero risk, a statistical impossibility, that anything would ever happen to your baby by having a light blanket or sleeping on her stomach. Let's agree that, on this specific matter, you are totally overreacting to the risk. You still would not be in the wrong, not even a little bit. Because this has absolutely nothing to do with safe sleep practices. This is about respect. This is about her fundamentally disrespecting your role as a parent. Her refusal to honor a simple, harmless request is not about her knowledge or your anxiety. It is a power play, plain and simple. It is her, consciously or subconsciously, telling you, I am still the authority here. Your rules are merely suggestions, and I, the true matriarch, will ultimately decide what is best. It does not matter if she feels she knows best. That's irrelevant. The moment you became a mother, the final authority on your child's well-being transferred to you. It is not up to her to decide how your baby is cared for. That job is now yours. Full stop. If you want your baby put to bed in a specific manner, even if that manner is, in her opinion, silly or overly cautious, she needs to respect that. Your rules are the law in your child's life. Her refusal to follow them is a deliberate undermining of your parental authority. If she won't follow your rules, then she shouldn't be allowed to watch your baby. It really is that simple. Let me tell you a story about my own mother-in-law. She's a wonderful woman, raised 3 successful kids, and she comes from that generation that believes a little dirt never hurt anyone. When my son, her first grandchild, was a toddler, we were at a family barbecue. I was momentarily distracted, talking to my brother, and my son, who was just learning to run, made a beeline for the deep end of the swimming pool. Before I even had time to register what was happening, my mother-in-law moved like a bolt of lightning. She cleared 10 feet of lawn in about 2 seconds, swooped him up, and had him safely in her arms before his toes even touched the water. In that moment, she didn't look at me for permission. She didn't worry about my parenting philosophy on poolside exploration. She saw a real, immediate, undeniable danger, and she acted. And I didn't feel undermined. I felt eternally grateful. I hugged her and thanked her profusely for being so vigilant. That is the only situation where it would be acceptable for her to step in and override your wishes. If you were allowing your baby to run around a pool unsupervised, or were feeding her food, she would choke on real dangers. But what you are asking for is the opposite. There is absolutely no risk to her or to the baby in putting your daughter to sleep the way you asked. In fact, you are asking for the safer method according to every modern pediatric association. Her refusal isn't based on a logical assessment of danger, it's based on her stubborn need to maintain control over you. And that needs to end. Now, because this isn't just about a sleeping arrangement. This is the first major boundary you are setting as a new mother, and it will be the blueprint for every single boundary that comes after it. If you let her win this power struggle, you are setting a precedent for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Next, it will be food. Oh, a little bit of soda won't hurt her. In my day, we gave babies solid food at 3 months, and we were fine. Then it will be discipline. Then screen time. Then friends. With every boundary she crosses, and you fail to enforce, her authority grows, and yours diminishes in her eyes, and, eventually, in your child's eyes as well. This is the hill you have to be willing to die on, not because of the minuscule risk of SIDS, but because of the 100% risk of your motherhood being undermined for the rest of your life. So, you need to make your boundary clear, firm, and non-negotiable. It should not be an emotional argument. It should be a statement of fact. You need to say the words from the other commenter's script, "Mom, I need you to respect the boundaries I set for her, or I can't leave her with you anymore." No apologies. No justifications, just a clear statement of cause and effect. If she argues back, if she tries to guilt-trip you, after all I've done for you, if she says you're being hysterical, you do not engage in the debate. You simply restate the boundary. This is not up for discussion, this is my decision as her mother. And if she can't be respectful, if she agrees to your face, and then you come home to find your daughter sleeping on her stomach with a fluffy comforter, then she loses the privilege of spending unsupervised time with her granddaughter. I know how hard that sounds. But the alternative is years of fighting this same battle over and over again. You can find safer childcare, not necessarily physically safer, but emotionally safer. You can find a daycare provider, or a babysitter, who will respect you as the parent, who will follow your rules without making it a challenge to their ego, who works for you. Your peace of mind as a mother is worth far more than free babysitting from someone who constantly makes you feel anxious and powerless. This isn't about her being a bad person. It's about her struggling to transition from her role as mother to her new role as grandmother. Your job is to help her make that transition by being a firm, confident, and unshakable authority when it comes to your child. You are the mom now. You make the rules. End of story. Comment 6. You're not overreacting. I'm going to say this the only way I know how. You would be making a big mistake to let her continue to help. She went against your wishes, put your baby's life in danger, and then lied to you. I don't care if she ran a daycare for 50 years. What was done back then has been proven time and time again. It's no longer safe for babies. What about a friend you can trust? Another family member? If not, then I'd pay a nanny. If anything, do it for your peace of mind. Print out some statistics of how many babies have died, may they all rest in peace, due to things that she thinks is okay to do. Let her pitch a fit, if she wants to. Just say to her, "My child, my rules. If you can't abide by my wishes, then your help will no longer be needed." Comment 7. The best thing I did was explaining to grandparents that things have changed. With more research, safer sleeping measures have been put in place, for example, on their back, with no loose blankets, etc., as opposed to when we were babies wrapped up in blankets, and also propped on our sides. The best way I explained it was how things change quickly, so the 4 years between my own children, what food I was and was not allowed to eat with my first, was different when pregnant with the second. So if that can change in 4 years, then think how much has changed in over 20 years. There are great medically approved websites that I would suggest you show your mother to try to re-emphasize the importance of safe sleeping.